Welcome to the Observers Direct, the show in which we go meet our observers face to face. This week we go to Brazil. With business booming in recent years, Brazil has become the world's 7th largest economy. To mark its emergence, the country is hosting football's World Cup this year and the Summer Olympics in 2016. The government is pulling out all the stops to show the country at its best. But our observer in Alva says all is not as it seems. Entire favelas are being wiped off the map to make space for sporting events. My colleague Julien Pain went to Rio to meet her.
Ando pelos bares da cidade dos mais diversos, rodas de improviso onde reinam os versos, deslizo, submerso no trabalho, flerto com a militância, ando perto da distância, maltrapilho.
Bonjour Renalva, merci de nous recevoir.
So why did you want us to meet all the way up here?
Donné rendez-vous ici à l'endroit le plus haut de ton quartier.
They're planning to build an Olympic park here. The city wants to rehouse residents nearby, but we don't want to go. We don't want to leave our homes. The government, politicians, those that hold economic power, they want people to see the festive side of Brazil. The beach, football, samba dances, the New Year celebrations. But this doesn't actually benefit the people of Brazil. These are the initials of the City Housing Authority. The authorities tagged them onto houses they're planning to destroy. It's discrimination. It's threatening.
The government wants to destroy Vila Autodromo to make way for the Olympics. But across the city, in Metro Mangueira, it's a World Cup, forcing people from their homes. This favela is close to Rio's legendary Maracanã Stadium, and the bulldozers are already in place.
Paulista.
Oba.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ça va bien?
This is where I live. They've started demolition work, and they'll be back again today. I'll show you. Follow me. They're in the middle of tearing this house down. The government wants to give the area around the Maracanã Stadium a facelift and show the world that everything is perfect for the World Cup. People were shocked. They didn't want to leave. There was an entire family living here, but they were forced to leave. They were given 600 reals to find somewhere else to live and told they would receive the same amount for another 3 months. It's so sad. It's not right what they're doing. Brazil needs teachers, doctors, education, training. But they prefer to uproot us, all for the Maracanã.
The evictions are facing mounting opposition, and support sometimes comes from unexpected sources. We met up with Batman, who's regularly seen at protests in one of the more upmarket parts of Rio, Leblon.
I'm going to protest in front of the shopping mall. It's a symbolic act against economic, social and racial discrimination. Let me tell you something about the World Cup. Brazil is investing millions into an event that its own people can't even afford to attend.
While we are talking to Batman, a man approaches him. He's obviously very angry.
This is totally ridiculous. This man's a fraud.
Batman is booed and heckled. The rich residents here in Leblon are clearly not impressed by talk of discrimination.
He's a crook. He's a vandal, a petty criminal. There's no discrimination here. He's just a crook.
What we have just seen illustrates the tensions within Brazilian society. But while the World Cup is a cause of conflict in some favelas, it is benefiting others. The authorities are investing in poor neighborhoods in central Rio, like Santa Marta.
This is my home. It's a large 3-story house. My mother lives downstairs with my uncle and my niece, and we rent a room out to a man from Argentina. A lot of people here make a living from tourism. They have shops, sidewalk stalls, sell handmade items, run restaurants or act as tour guides. But people here don't like the safari tours, the big companies that bring in groups of tourists and exploiters.
There have been several rehabilitation programs in this favela. 3 years ago, it got its own cable car. It's good for tourism?
Very. And also very practical for residents. It goes from the top all the way down to the bottom of the favela.
So the World Cup is a positive thing.
I'm really pleased we're hosting the World Cup. I hope it brings a lot of tourists. That would be great for our favela's economy.
Favela tourism is a recent development. It's been made possible by a state-sponsored public security program. Dubbed a pacification program, it involves sending military police into favelas controlled by drug gangs. We head to Rocinha, Rio's biggest favela, to see what the Police Pacification Unit, the UPP, has achieved. We're on ADA turf, one of the city's biggest gangs.
Just being able to stand here and talk to you with no threat of violence is a great step forward. There are even children out and about, you see, over there, near the police officers. There's more to the pacification process than police presence. Our work here is just the beginning. It's a long-term process. We want children to have different opportunities, to grow up with prospects.
Residents often complain of police brutality here. What would you say to them?
It does happen, yes, but it happens all over the world. It's no different for the police here. We're dealing with people who are breaking the law, defying the state. And the military police is here to bring order to the favela.
Rocinha's military police commander admits there is still work to be done. The atmosphere between police and residents is tense. People don't like being filmed, but when the cameras stop rolling, they tell us at night time the gangs are back in control. The pacification process is underway, but instead of gang violence, now there is sometimes arbitrary repression. We go to meet Anderson. The military police mistook his father, 42-year-old construction worker Amarildo de Souza, for a drug dealer and took him in for questioning on July 14, 2013. He never made it home. There have been countless cases like this, but his family was brave enough to speak out, and the story's become a symbol of the struggle against police violence. So this is where you last saw him?
Whenever I come here, I can see his face. This is where we saw him for the last time, before he was taken away by the UPP.
Let's go and talk somewhere else.
I live in this house now with my brothers and sister. This is my mother.
Is that your husband on the T-shirt?
Yes, we had help from the local community. Amarildo was much loved. He was born in Rocinha.
We know my father was killed by the police. Some of the officers responsible are now in prison, but we still don't know what they did with his body, his remains. We need to be able to mourn and give him a proper funeral.
We spoke to the UPP and they said police in other countries are just as bad. But what do you think?
Residents don't have a problem with their presence in the favela, but an officer who does something like that, commits that sort of crime, he's not a real police officer. He's a uniformed criminal.
Anderson hopes the police will one day acknowledge their wrongdoings. His bravery and that of his mother have already made an impact by breaking the silence surrounding police brutality. We tried to talk to someone at Rio's City Hall to pass on our observers' questions, but to no avail. The authorities don't seem to want to talk about the growing social tensions in the run-up to the World Cup. For Inalva, Paulista, Anderson and Batman, the fight is far from over. Each in their own way wants to send the same message, that Rio's poor should not have to pay for sporting events that have nothing to do with them.
We'll be staying in touch, of course, with our observers in Brazil. You'll find updates on our website. Now remember that we depend on you to help us make this show. So if you have a problem in your community you think the world needs to know about, get in touch. Maybe next time we'll come to you.